Welcome to the Success Consultancy's Just Great People podcast, the podcast that introduces you to ordinary people who've done extraordinary things. My name is Barry Eustace, and I'd like to introduce you to today's guest. Hi, everybody. It's Barry Eustace here from the Success Consultancy's Just Great People podcast. Welcome, and a big welcome to Tyron Henderson, who you will probably know from his international and county cricket career. Tyron's going to tell us a little bit about himself. As usual, I'll try and ask the questions on your behalf, but Tyron's got a fantastic story to tell, and he's currently down at his home at the Two Swans in East London, South Africa. Shout out for the restaurant, the cricketers. Go there, it's fantastic. If you could see the views that's over Tyron's right hand shoulder, you'd be over there in a second. So, Tyron, listen, welcome. And disclosure, Tyron's a great friend of mine, and we're going to have a cup of coffee and a chat, and hopefully you'll gain something from it as well. Tyron, over to you. Tell us a little bit about yourself for our esteemed listener and viewer.
Okay, well, thank you very much for having me, Barry. Much appreciated. So that's absolutely perfect. I'm basically now a retired ex-cricketer. 2010, I retired from cricket. My career was from 98 to 2010. Started here in South Africa playing for Border with the likes of Mackay and Tini and Mark Bouchers and things were involved with the Border side in those days. And yeah, then my cricket career just sort of carried on and progressed from there to being fortunate enough to represent South Africa. And yeah, I was lucky enough to play county cricket for a few years for Kent for a season, and then 5 years at Middlesex after that, where we won the 2020 in 2008, where I had to bowl the last over to another South African, Justin Kemp, and we won it off the last ball, which entitled me to go a little bit further in my career with getting picked up in the IPL by Rajasthan Royals. So yeah, it's just sort of all played after each other, and yeah, just I had a enjoyable cricket career.
And it sounds, Tyron, from your delivery there, that you just kind of wandered into it, but you didn't, did you? I mean, let's assume I was contemplating a career in elite sport, top-level sport, because that's where the space you occupied. What are your thoughts about someone who is not only sport, if you're planning to compete or participate, that's probably a better word, at the highest level? How do you start? How do you actually take that first willing step?
You've got to have self-belief. You've got to believe you can do it. Because if you don't believe it, how's anyone else going to believe you're going to be able to do it? I think that's probably the first step on believing yourself and having the want, the will, the drive to actually compete, perform at that sort of level. You've got to have the belief. Then I suppose the second part is, especially with sort of sport, is finding the right coach that will actually believes in what you believe and will give you the opportunities. That's what I think the big part of sports. Sport is also a bit of luck is required. And yes, I was very fortunate when I came down to East London from Durban, that I found a coach that believed in me and liked what he saw and gave me my first opportunity. And so yeah, that was, I think, my big break in life. But because I did start sort of fairly late-ish in my professional career, so I only started playing professional cricket at the age of 24, which is sort of fairly late-ish, but also the advantage to that is I actually had a better understanding of my game. My skill sets are probably a bit better on the cricket field, my abilities, because I had an extra few years to work on it, whereas nowadays a lot of youngsters get brought into the fold. It's 18, 19 years old sort of thing, and they're still learning the game. So they haven't quite figured out the game, how they're going to go about it, especially batters. They haven't quite worked out the game, how they're going to score runs and things like that. As a bowler, they haven't developed the skill sets required yet. So it's a bit more stressful, I suppose, for youngsters coming into professional sport. And whereas I came that's a little bit later on, I had a better understanding of my game. My skill sets were a little bit better, so it helped me to succeed where I wanted to go.
Do you think you felt less pressure coming in at that, having sort of the slightly more mature head on your shoulders at that stage? Was there less pressure, or what was your mindset at that stage?
Yes, I would think so. Oh, well, to be fair, I was just so happy to actually give an opportunity. I just went with it. Yeah, I suppose it would be a little bit less pressure on me because I hadn't come out of sort of a straight out of a youth system or from pathways or academies or anything like that. As an 18, 19-year-old, I had developed a little bit more. I had gone to the South African National Academy. So that also helped a little bit. And so that we went on a tour to Scotland, England, and things like that. So it had helped me develop and approach it a slightly different way as a youngster might do. A bit of less pressure. I just went, well, I've been given opportunities, so let's make the most of it, because there's no point putting added pressure upon yourself. If you're given the opportunity, you've got to grab it with both hands and make the most of it, I suppose, is the best way to go about it.
To compete at the highest level is one thing, and you'll take us on how you actually ended up competing at the highest level, but sustaining that position at that level, it must be incredibly intense and must require a great deal of focus, yes, motivation, and self-confidence.
So, very much so, especially sort of in cricket, because in cricket they refer to the second season syndrome, because you break onto the scene your first season, no one's seeing you, they don't know what you do or how you approach things, that guys don't know you. But then what generally happens is the second season, the guys are seeing you, and because there's so much information out there now with the recording of games, and the guys just go on a computer, go click, 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 and they can watch your last couple, 6 or 7 knocks you've had. They can watch how you picked up your wickets in the last few games. So the guys work you out very quickly. So the second season is probably, from a cricketing perspective, the hardest season to sort of keep up with that level, because the guys have worked you out, they've seen what you do. Oh, okay, he does this, he swings the ball away, then he looks to do this. The guys realize this, and when they walk out to bat against you as a bowler, they know, he's looking to swing a couple away, then he'll do this and try to swing one back. So it is a lot more difficult, and that's where you've got to keep working on your skill sets and your abilities to keep performing at that level. Then after the second season, the guys realize, oh, hang on, he actually has got a few more tricks in the bag, and you carry on from there. Then the guys go, oh, he's actually quite a good player, and that's where the respect and I suppose the respect for your abilities comes in from the other guys you're playing against. They go, hey, this guy can actually play, so yes, we best take it, look after this guy, and so the mindset and the path changes as the seasons progress.
But from your own perspective, the motivation and the focus must originate from you, surely, Tyron. You've got to be pushing at that level the whole time, and for sustaining standards and maintaining the motivation.
Very much so. As I said in the beginning, if you don't have self-belief, you're not going to go anywhere in a hurry, because the other guys won't back you. But if you show that self-belief and you show you actually have the abilities to back it up, it does make things easier. And yes, you want to succeed, because cricket is a game of numbers, and the stats tell the truth in the long run. So you want to perform at the highest level as you can and do as well as you can, because as a professional sportsman, you're always looking to go one step further. And as a professional playing either county or provincial cricket in South Africa, you want to get to the highest level, and the highest level is basically representing your country. And to get there, it doesn't just happen overnight, sort of thing. It does take time. It does take effort. And the numbers show that you are capable of performing at that level. And so you're striving to be the best you can be all the time. But the other side of it is you've got to keep working on your skill sets. You practice. As the Gary player said, the more I practice, the luckier I got. And it's the same thing in cricket.
Don't talk to me about golf. That's another story, folks. There's a demon in me every time I see a golf ball. I got to kill it. It does not do anything for my game. But you're right. The more I practice, the luckier I get. For someone who's coming to you as a young person, and you do a lot of coaching, Tyron. So someone comes to you, they've been out there, they've practiced, they've got a level of skill that maybe can be developed, but they don't believe in themselves. How do you, as a coach, given your background, how do you bring that out of them? How do you actually give the person and build their confidence and their self-belief? How is that achieved? And how does it translate, do you think, to environments outside of the cricket environment or the sporting environment?
Well, I suppose cricket's probably a little bit easier to help, because when you work and coach kids, adults, whatever it may be, they see the progress and how they're improving. So with the improving and things getting better, and instead of making 10 runs every year, I'm starting to make 25, 30 runs, they actually realize, hang on, this is actually getting easier because I'm obviously doing something right. And if you're doing something consistently right, your self-belief, I suppose, also has to rise, because you think, hang on, this is actually not as hard as it used to be. It has got a lot better. Or look, I'm bowling a lot straighter now. I'm not bowling so many wide and things. So with cricket, you can actually see the improvements because the game improves, your skill sets improve. So it's easy to see in the cricket world. But I suppose outside the cricket world, like in business world and things, it's a lot more difficult to quantify and see. So from the cricket world, from outside the cricket world, I suppose it's in the business world, success will come from your sales will improve, your people start showing more respect, more interest in you. I suppose that's where it will come from. So from sort of outside of a cricket point of view, that people will see and sense that you are doing things right. Because let's be fair, there's no shortcut to anything in life. Everything has to be done properly.
Yeah. Is it about having those measurable, achievable gains, incremental gains that actually builds the confidence? Is that your experience?
Yeah, I would think so, because if you're seeing you improving on the cricket field, things are getting better. It's got to help your self-confidence. It's got to give you a bit more belief. Oh, I can actually do this. I'm actually not as bad as I think I can, because the numbers are showing me otherwise. I'm actually improving. Things are actually going very well. And well, with that, I suppose that's where the self-belief will come. You go, actually, this is actually not such a bad thing.
And of course, the magic formula. And I discussed this recently with Rick Leander, who I did a podcast with, and Rick deals with startup companies and helping them along the way. And Rick made the point that if world-class sports people have coaches, then people outside the sporting environment will benefit massively from coaches. And you've highlighted the importance of the coach to you. Can you expand upon that a little bit more, Tyron?
Yes, I would agree, because look, doesn't matter whether it's cricket, golf, football, everyone has a coach, because it's very hard as a sportsman to do a self-assessment. But if you've got another set of eyes or another 2 or 3 sets of eyes, they can give you feedback onto what they see might be issues are. Because sometimes as a sportsman, you just think it feels okay, but just something is just, because sometimes it's just little things that are just slightly out, and that just makes the end product becomes a massive problem. Like I tell kids when I'm coaching them about batting, if your starting point, your stance and your grip aren't correct, the further along you get into playing a shot, the faults become bigger and bigger. So you've got to work with people to keep checking on the technical aspects of cricket, whether it's batting or bowling. But yes, the coach plays a massive part, because he's also the one that's got the belief in you to give you those opportunities. I'll be Richard Pipes. He was the coach that gave me my first opportunity here at Border. But Parby, he is massively, as a coach, he is massively into how the mind works. I know he's done hypnosis courses and all sorts of things like that, because he was the coach that could just go into change, just go to one guy, just go whisper something in his ear, just a couple of words to this guy here and a little word there, just to get the guy to turn on and be fully alert, fully aware before you walk into the field. And that's how he worked, and that's why he was such a magnificent coach, because 99% of the guys that he's coached, if he asked him, please come play a game of cricket for me somewhere, they will say, coach, tell me where and when, what time, I'll be there without a problem, because that's where he was. And his record as a coach shows how successful he was, because wherever he was, the sides won trophies. So he just has got formula that works, but he is a very principled man, and I'm doing it this way. And if we're not going to do that, I'm going, because if it doesn't work, you can't blame me, because it's not my system. My way of doing things have not been implemented correctly. And you see it from sides he's coached, and where he's left after he's done his stint there. Those guys do very well for 2 or 3 years, but then those systems he's put in place, they sort of drop off, and other guys are starting to put input, and then the sides just they take a massive dip. So he obviously has got something right. And that's the value of a coach from a technical point of view, from a mental point of view. They've all got to play a role. But so, yes, definitely in the business world, why not get consultants in? The specialists who deal specifically with certain points, why not get them in? Because if they can help a sportsman having outside coaches and influencers, I suppose, points of views, how can it not assist in the business world too by getting in specialists, consultants like yourself to get guys to think slightly differently, see things slightly differently? It can only benefit people in the long run.
Yeah, well, in fact, we're discussing recently Bill Campbell, who was the coach to people like Steve Jobs and Eric Schmidt from Google and Apple. And in fact, this is recorded in November 2024, folks. If you're looking at this 5 years down the road, there's a fantastic program at the moment showing just the value of coaching, and it's called Cheer, and it's Monica and the team from Navarro who are cheerleaders, but they compete at a very, very high level. And exactly what Tyron was saying is really evident through that. And if you want to read about Bill Campbell, $1 Billion Coach is the book to get, and it explains how he really went through Silicon Valley as the coach of coaches, and he did it because he loved doing it and was great at it. And it's about the inner game, Tyron, isn't it? How that coaching really augments the inner game and optimizes you through the inner game.
Very much so, because as I said all along, if you don't have that self-belief, how are you going to succeed? You can't. If you don't believe in yourself, it's virtually impossible to succeed and do well in any field that you want to succeed in, because you've got to have that inner belief in yourself that I know I can do this. I am going to do it. You've got to have that self-belief. But yes, sometimes as an individual, you might not see it in yourself. But yes, you just get the right person to say the right few words in your ear, and all of a sudden your mindset changes slightly. You go, hang on, I can actually do it. And then you go from there. It's unbelievable what people can actually achieve if that happens.
And in any sport, you have knockbacks. I'm not at this stage talking about injuries, but I'm talking about just the natural. I mean, cricket is pretty brutal. I mean, the form of cricket is the people are firing balls at you at 120 miles an hour with the intention of knocking you. You're working so of it, and you're walking back to the pavilion. But if you have a bad patch, a bad period, a knockback in your game, how do you pick yourself up? How do you maintain that focus, that motivation, and the confidence? How's that achieved?
You've just got to keep working at it. You can't give up. There was about 2004. I had a patch where it just wasn't working properly. The ball wasn't going where it was supposed to. I just couldn't get the ball to land right area, and I didn't know what to do with myself. But it was just perseverance, keep working. As I said, it's little things that make big differences, and that's what it was. I just had to change one or two little things, and they made a massive difference in the end, and changing and getting me to perform at the level where I should have been at, where I fell off for a few weeks of it because I just couldn't figure out what was going wrong. So you always think things don't go right, you've got to go back to basics and then start again, work out what went wrong so you can fix it. Because if you don't know what's wrong, how do you fix it?
Yeah, I'm very interested that you've used the word going back to basics. Again, the recent documentary about Simone Biles, when she lost confidence in Tokyo, and she went from absolutely the peak of performance as a gymnast to going right back to basics and rebuilding from the basics back into the gym, fundamentals underpinning the fundamentals. And is that the message you're giving as well, Tyron?
Very much so. If things aren't working, there's obviously a reason something's gone wrong. So your best option is go back to the basics. What made you successful to start off with that enabled you to start off, get going in a certain path, whatever pathway you're going on? What made you successful there? And have a look from there, because that was your building block. Because once you got the building blocks, you can build. You need that base. And once you've got that base, you can build from that base and improve, expand, and gives you more options.
So if you've done that, how do you then maintain the consistency to perform at the kind of level you've been performing at? How do you maintain that consistency week in, week out? What's the secret?
It's like I always say to my son, which cricketers train the hardest? The best cricketers in the world. Because you've got to that level, but now you've got to play at that level and you've got to put the hard yards in. There's no shortcut to it, whether it be golf or cricket or any sport. Once you get to that top level, you have to. There's no shortcuts. You have to put the time in, you have to put the effort in, you have to train and put the hours in. An example, when we won the 2020 and 2008 Middlesex, I was only on a colour clothing contract, so I only played white ball cricket. So when other guys went off to go play first class cricket with the red ball and the white gloves, I used to go into Lords and 3-4 times a week, and I'd just get someone to come feed a bowling machine for me for an hour every day, and I'd go stand and just hit balls and hit balls and hit balls, just so I can be as sharp as I possibly can. So when the occasion arises that you need to come out there and do what you're supposed to do, you are mentally prepared, you are physically prepared for it, so you can go out there and do the job.
So is it a case that you practice until you don't get it wrong, and then you practice more until you can't get it wrong? Is that the mindset that people need to... Yeah. When you think you've done enough, do a little bit more, a lot more.
That's exactly it. In sport, they call it muscle memory. It just becomes your automatic reflex, your automatic way of doing something. It just, you don't think about it. It's just, that's where the ball is. I've got to play that shot, bang, and it just happens. You don't have to think about it. It just becomes completely automatic, the way you respond to things, because that's how you have practiced.
And how much do you think that plays outside of sport? Is that transferable as a concept? Do you believe that that's something that's, for example, someone running an organization, someone working within an organization can and should be doing, maintaining that consistent level?
Yes, because if you work at a level that, if you practice and do things at a higher level than what you have to do in a normal day-to-day life does become easier, because when you have to revert back to normal day-to-day sort of life and doing things, but you practice doing it at high intensity, high levels, that level becomes absolutely easy to perform at, because you practice and worked at doing things at a higher level than that. So that's where that automatic muscle memory comes in, because you go, I've done this a million times at a lot harder level, higher degree, more difficulty, and it just becomes easier when it's the normal day-to-day things that don't operate at that high intensity, that high level all the time.
And how does teamwork play into the overall picture of performance, consistency, confidence, and ability?
No man, as I say, no man is an island. Whether it's sport, business, world, you've got people behind you, backing you. You've got people above you that you've got to impress, perform, do well for. So the team environment is massive, because on a cricket field, I'll keep going back to cricket because that's what I know best in life. In the cricket field, cricket is a bit of a stupid game in that it's an individual sport in a team environment. Because when you're batting, when you're bowling, it's you and you alone that's doing it. But you have got the support of 10 other guys that are on the cricket field with you. So you've got the support, you've got the guys backing you, you've got the guys wanting you to do well. And the business world is pretty much the same sort of thing. It's you doing well, because there's always going to be a team of other people around you, whether it's other salesmen, the managers, the secretaries, there's everyone around you working for the business to do well, for the company to do well. So everyone will back you. So I say it would be pretty much the same sort of thing, whether it's a business environment, the sports field, teams just make everything a bit easier, because it's not you and you alone. You have got to support everyone else, and it does help you succeed.
I guess the metaphor, and it's just occurred to me, Tyron, as we're chatting, that cricket metaphor is really interesting, because it's just pinged in my head that it's very difficult to play world-class cricket with a village side. You've got to have world-class players sitting alongside you, lifting the team. Is that fair? Is that a reasonable analogy?
Yes, I would go along with that, because you have watched me play a little bit of village cricket for one or two of my mates' teams. So yes, you have seen that. And yes, it is a lot more difficult to perform when everyone else is used to performing at this sort of level, but you used to performing at a lot higher level. It does make it a lot more difficult, because your expectations of those people are higher than what they may be capable of. So it probably actually would work in your favor if you come into an environment where the people are used to working that level. They will drag you up to that level, because unfortunately in sport, guys can either pull you up to that level or they can drag you down to their level. That's where it works. But if you also perform at that level, you can also drag other people up to your level as well. As long as you are consistent in what you do, performing at that level, doing things at that level, you can drag other people along, and there will be improvements that will happen in the world around you.
And you've heard it here from Tyron Henderson. If you want to be world class, you've got to surround yourself with a world class team and a world class coach, and have the right mindset and the right inner game and the confidence to do that.
Absolutely,
Tyron,
I agree with that 100%.
That's been hugely insightful. Listen, thank you so much. We've got to talk again. Tyron, we haven't spoken enough recently, but Tyron Henderson from Two Swans in East London, South Africa. Go down there next time you're in South Africa. It's a wonderful venue, wonderful restaurant. And Tyron, thank you for your insights, which play right across not only sport, but also the operational, organizational and business environment. Tyron, you're a star and always have been. Thank you.
Only a pleasure, Barry. Only a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And before we go, just a reminder, please do like, do share, and please do subscribe to this podcast and ensure that you pass it on to everybody you know. So that's it for today's Just Great People podcast from the Success Consultancy. We hope and trust you've enjoyed it. Please join us next time, and please do remember to subscribe. Thanks for joining us.